isn't unusual for cemeteries across the country to be haunted. Apparitions spotted, disembodied voices heard. They are known as some of the most popular places where paranormal activity takes place. However, very few have portals to hell. According to legend, there are 7 gates in various cemeteries across the United States. In the Spidergate Cemetery, there are 7 hidden gates within it. And when you reach the 8th gate, you will be sent straight to hell. If you somehow manage to survive, demons will follow you around for the rest of your life, or until they drive you completely insane.
Hey there, Morbid Maniacs! It's time for another spooky video. And for tonight's spooky video, I'm going to be talking all about the Spidergate Cemetery. I'm sorry if my makeup looks like I'm sweating. It's because I am, you guys. Located in Leicester, Massachusetts, the Spring Creek Friends Cemetery was created in the early 1730s by a group of Quakers who believed the land possessed special powers. They used the land to not only bury their dead, but worship and perform various incantations. It's located in a secluded area which is overgrown and hard to find. The cemetery got its nickname, the Spidergate Cemetery, due to the look of its gates, which resemble a spider and its web. However, these gates were actually placed there due to the tragedy that struck the grounds and an ancient Greek story signifying life after death. The gate itself has grown a very scary reputation in the cemetery. It's said to be a portal straight to hell. It's believed that there are 7 gates to hell in cemeteries all over the country. The Spidergate Cemetery holds 7 of those gates within it. The main gate being the 8th gate, which will send you straight down to hell or will steal your soul. It's believed that you must find all 7 of these gates and walk through them. As you pass through each gate, the cemetery will grow more eerie and darker. Once you reach the 8th gate, there is no turning back. You have reached the portal to hell. If you somehow manage to find a way out of this, it is said that demons will follow you around for the rest of your days until they drive you completely insane. As you walk through the gates of the graveyard, you will soon stumble upon a tall tree which has a hanging rope hanging from it. This is said to be the place of an unaliving. A young teenage boy was said to have hung himself from this tree in 1943. There is a spot underneath this tree where grass is said to not grow. In the 1950s, the Quakers added the gate in honor of the boy's death. In the early years, the Quakers would have their meetings on the grounds of the cemetery. They would worship and perform rituals there. As time went on, they moved their meeting house to a different location. And all that remains of this one are cement blocks, which mark the original corners. The Quakers' old meeting house once sat in the middle of the cemetery. They would use the area to summon or worship demons or other entities. Locals will call this area the altar, and it's believed that satanic rituals have taken place there. Some believe that the Quakers still use this as their meeting spot to this day. Another legend which takes place in the Spidergate Cemetery is the legend of Marmaduke Earl. Legend states that if you walk around Marmaduke's gravestone 10 times at midnight and say, "Marmaduke, speak to me," then kneel down and place your head on his gravestone and listen carefully, he will speak to you. Hundreds of visitors have claimed to hear the moans. You may also find coins along Marmaduke's gravesite. This is to symbolize the payphone as locally known. Mr. Earl was a beloved member of the Quakers, and there is even a street to the cemetery known as Earl Street. A mile from the cemetery is a small cave where in the 1980s a 6-year-old boy was beaten and dumped into the nearby river. This is also said to be the place where a young girl was killed and dismembered as part of a satanic ritual. It's said that if you listen carefully, you can hear the sound of moaning and roaring in the woods. Folks who are visiting Spidergate will also experience white ooze coming from the ground if they just so happen to turn over rocks. People have also experienced being chased by unseen forces at ungodly speeds. According to one story, a group of teenage boys visited Spidergate one night. It was already growing dark when they arrived. Eventually, the boys stumbled upon the second and the third gates. They got the strangest feeling like someone was watching them, and they heard footsteps in the trees. And once they passed through the fourth gate, a disembodied voice could be heard, but they couldn't make out what it was saying. And when they went through the fifth gate, something called out to them in the woods. It sounded like the dying scream of a small child. One of the boys lost his nerve and freaked out and ran back to the safety of the vehicle. The screaming continued, growing louder and louder. Then, as they stepped through the sixth gate, everything went silent. As they went through the seventh gate, a loud roaring noise could be heard. The boys were so frightened that they could barely move. Just then, they saw a black figure standing in front of them. The boys just stood there, shaking in fear, until the dark figure decided to move towards them. At that moment, they turned and they ran as fast as they could. The black figure was gaining on them, and they thought that they were going to pass out. When they reached their car, the growling stopped and the figure disappeared. They jumped into their car and they drove off into the night. When they got home safely, they just sat in the car, trembling, and made a vow never to return to the Spidergate Cemetery. Would you test out the legend of the Spidergate Cemetery and risk being sent to hell or be cursed to deal with demons for an eternity? So there is the legend of the Spidergate Cemetery. What do you guys think of this spooky legend? Have you ever visited there? If you live nearby, I'd love to know. And if you did anything spooky happen on your venture there? Let me know in the comments below, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a big ol' thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and become a Morbid Maniac. Also, be sure to hit that bell notification. That way you get notified every single time I upload a new video. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next one.